Welcome to another episode of Real Deal Investing. I'm Jerron Kelley, one of your hosts, and my co-host, Larry Mastropieri. Welcome. And today we've got an awesome guest, Tony Stern, one of my friends and colleagues, and we've been doing some work together for the last few years. And coincidentally, actually a neighbor in my building. It's completely random, but we get to enjoy seeing each other at least once a week in the mornings in the elevator. Sure. So it's great. Welcome, Tony. So great to have you here on the podcast. I know Tony wears a number of different hats, and he'll tell you all about these because I want to hear all about the background. I don't even know some of the background, but I know Tony as, first of all, the owner of PropertyOnion.com, an amazing website, great resource for investors, for property owners, investors, flippers, foreclosure, auction buyers here in Florida, as well as I believe you're in Ohio and maybe a couple other states that are coming and maybe nationally here soon. But you also are a developer. You've done a number of projects, including a beautiful, I believe it's a townhome project in Delray. Right. You have a very cool video about that. You can tell people where to find that video, showing the project and its sort of evolution, which was fantastic. I want to hear all about that too. But then you're an investor as well. You're a coach, all of those things. So sort of a man of all seasons in the investor world. So why don't we start with just sort of what your background is and how you got here, because you definitely have an American accent, as people will hear. So give us where you came from.
Well, I was born in London, quite obviously. My accent doesn't give away the fact that I've been in Boca Raton now for 10 years. Previous to that, 15 years in Los Angeles. Okay. So I managed to retain my accent. Gives me 5 seconds more on the telephone than you guys. Well, my journey's like, for me, it's uninteresting. For guys, some people find it interesting. I don't know. I didn't go to university. I didn't have a college education whatsoever. Back in the day, in the mid-70s, unless you were going to be a brain surgeon, doctor, lawyer, accountant, you didn't go to university. At 15 years of age, you took off your school tie and your parents kicked you out and said, go get a job. And that's exactly what they did for me. And I started off, I did a radio, TV and electrical mechanics course, which was absolutely, completely useless to someone like me. I've got two left hands and I just, it was just, but I persevered with that. And then a year later, remember I'm 15 and a half, 16 years of age. I then got a job with a company, an American company, funny enough, in London called Tektronix UK. And they made oscilloscopes that you see on, people. Yeah. Well, I actually worked on the mobile one. So if you ever, God forbid, in a trauma and you had one of my oscilloscopes that I calibrated and repaired, the chances of survival were pretty slim, right? Oh my God. Because what I figured out at that time when I was working in the factory in Southgate, which is in North London, was, I was more, instead of being more electronically minded, I was more commercially and entrepreneurial minded. And so this factory had 300 people that worked in it. And as far as I was concerned, they were my audience and customer base. And so I used to walk in there with stuffed teddy bears, raffle tickets or drawing tickets. I used to sell cassettes back in the day, C60s, C90s, C120s, made by BASF. I'd say that because I just remember that. And also videotape. And anyway.
So you're a hustler.
And that's what I realized. And then I used to go past houses or apartments and flats. And, at the time I didn't have a bean, not a pound note in my pocket, so to speak. I'd really love to get into that. I love to own that, And what I realized, actually at the grand old age of 67 years of age here, is that I'm a creative, but not a creative as you would in the traditional sense. I have this insane thirst for knowledge, but not on the academic level, more on a practical level. So, I always say it's like chess. If you gave me a book about chess, I would never learn in 1,000 years. But if I sat and watched you play chess for an hour, I would learn how to play it, which I do, by the way, really badly. But nevertheless, I know how to do it. So anyway, I then, that was the only two jobs that I had up to the age of 17. And then I broke for the border, so to speak, and I've never been employed by anyone since. And the reason for that is I'm probably unemployable. I really am. I mean,
At least you admit it.
I feel like I'm the same way.
I'm
now.
the same way now,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't take instruction very well, and I do know more than most, I think. But obviously,
At least you think you do, right?
yeah, at least
that's
I think
the
I do.
important part.
Yeah, and I know that that's not true. And over the years, I've developed this this sense of listening, and although that maybe doesn't come across right now, but I do listen to people.
Good.
And that's how you learn. Anyway, so I started I started my own boutique a property company back in London. And back in London, back in the 70s, you didn't need a license or anything like you do here, which is really a great idea. You just put up a sign on a door, which I did. I went into into this multi-office building. I took the smallest suite. It was actually a cupboard, probably a 12 by 12. Stuck a sign on the door, called it TEGM. Was it Tony Group? Tony Group Enterprises, I think I called it, some grandiose name, and went to work trying to identify buildings that I thought, and I knew nothing about the business, but I had friends that were just starting in it, and I had some of my father's friends that were in the business, and I started to acquire the knowledge, not earning a penny, by the way. Really, thanks to the sustenance of my parents, they managed to keep me going. Anyway, but I met some investors back then. I found some properties, and slowly but surely, I'm making this timeline that was enormous seem very, very small. I started to accumulate some properties, and that's where I started to gain my knowledge.
Mostly in and around London? Is that
only in London? I couldn't afford to travel outside of London.
Okay.
And also the sort of projects that I was finding and building were very small. So the investors I was going to, they, it wasn't I wasn't going to them for a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably just giving me money just to tell me to go away. But I managed to turn a dollar. And within a few years, I'd accumulated a very small property portfolio with rental income. Although my style of trading is I eat what I kill. I've never built a big portfolio of properties. That's just my style. I like to be in cash. And that's developed. It's been good and it's been bad.
So you buy and then eventually sell at some point. Is that kind of the dynamic?
Yeah.
Not hold forever.
Flipping, or whether it's short-term flipping or medium-term.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I don't have a strategy. I have a gut feeling and a sense when to buy and when to sell.
Got it.
And one of the early things I learned is that you make all your money when you buy. I know everyone says that, but you really do. You make all your money when you buy.
Mm-hmm.
If you buy wrong, you're screwed from the very beginning. Okay, so I learned that very early on, but I wasn't just interested in property. It was my passion. But I found and nurtured this entrepreneurial sense, and I got involved in many other businesses, from the embryonic telephone business. I laugh now when everyone walks around with cell phones, but I was the first guy in London that opened a store selling phones.
Wow.
Okay, there's a way back. I used to say to people, "Do you know what? You can make a phone call from the side of your swimming pool with no wires." And they used to go, "Wow, really?" I mean, you say that now, everyone thinks you're demented, right? But back then, it was like, "Oh, wow."
That was the sales pitch.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, that industry was a cash cow for me, because I was in it at the very, very beginning. I started a company with an American partner, funnily enough, in London, called the Phone Booth Limited. And we started importing phones from America because it was much more advanced then, cordless telephones. We used to sell, I don't know why no one's going to remember this, but it was called the Pacer phone. Maybe anyone out there might remember that. I don't know. Or Superphone. And we started traveling to Japan and China and all over the place, bringing in these phones. And that's basically got me the money that I needed to develop my real estate business.
So that business gave you the cash to build that portfolio we were talking about, or is that after?
No, it helped. It was during, I wasn't just in that business. I mean, kind of seems like I'm a jack of all trades, but, my fundamentally is you buy at one price and you sell at the other. I mean, that's the premise of all business as far as that is 101.
Yeah.
It's the margin in between that's really important, and how sustainable that margin in between is.
But I think what you're saying here is really important, because I watch a lot of different podcasts. I'm sure we all do. And many of them are in the real estate space. And people are always talking about all the wins they have and the flips and the portfolios. They've created portfolios of 5,000 properties. Of course, they're talking about they put $10,000 into a syndication that has 2,000 units. And that's how they add that stuff up. But the point I'm trying to make is that you do need a source for cash. Yeah,
Exactly.
sometimes you can go out and syndicate a deal and get investors, and I get that. That is one method. But realistically, if you're going to build wealth for yourself, typically that's through having a source of income, a cash flow, a business, or even a job. I mean, even if you are in a job, that's fine, and you can start to build wealth that way. But a lot of these real estate gurus don't talk about that's kind of the underbelly of all of this, or kind of the precursor of all of this, which is so important, is that you need cash flow coming in order to not just survive, but also to save money as the down payment for these properties. And then, then you can either flip or wholesale or buy and hold or do the Burr method or all of these other methods, but you got to have some money from somewhere, right?
I mean, in most cases, you have to have a business that's kicking off a substantial amount of cash in order, especially to invest in South Florida.
Well, especially nowadays in South Florida or
that's why
Florida in
people
general.
make a lot of mistakes. It's because they have to buy a property. So they have to flip.
Exactly.
Okay. And they're panicked. And again, something that I learned many years ago was that you got to have a side hustle as well. You know, to be quite frank with you, I don't buy a ton of properties anymore. I never ever bought a ton of properties. I always bought quality properties. And when I say quality profit properties, which means there is a sustainable profit in a deal. And back then, I mean, I couldn't afford to buy the millions of dollars type style properties that, I'm fortunate enough to buy now. But back then, it was really important that I bought right. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I always had to have a side hustle, which is where having an entrepreneurial spirit and being adept at actually doing other businesses. I mean, during that period, I owned a watch company actually in the UK. And in Europe, it was quite well known. It was called Claude Dauphin. And I actually ended up selling.
How very French of you, yeah.
Well, actually, it was
you francophile, you.
It actually spelled dolphin.
It sounds expensive. That's what it's all
it
that
was spelled dolphin.
Oh, literally.
Dolphin.
Oh, I thought it was like DAUPHIN,
No.
like the French spelling.
No, but all the marketing was Dauphin.
Oh, Dauphin. Okay, there we go. Okay, Dauphin.
And
oh my God,
I love it.
And what it was one of these interchangeable watches that you could buy. You could change the color. And
like the Swiss watch. You remember the Swiss watch?
Well, I'm going to tell you
Swatch.
Well, I'm going to tell you a story. Okay,
Swatch.
I'm going to tell you a very quick, very funny story about that. Anyway, so we took this company, and I ended up going into Harrods and Phoenix and Galerie Lafayette in Paris. We built it up, and we eventually sold it to Monarch Industries, who basically actually ran it into the ground, but that's another story. But at the time, fashion watches were really big in Europe. And I'm going to tell you, you're looking at a man that turned down the distribution for the UK from Swatch.
Really?
A guy by the name of Jeffrey Ashworth came to me. He offered me the first Swatch watch, which I don't know if you remember, was a skeleton watch. Mm. And this is like the guy that turned down the Beatles, right? So, and he said, would you be interested? Because he saw that the shelf space we were getting in all the other companies, in all the stores in London and Europe, and he said, "Would you be interested in taking on the distribution for Swatch?" And I said, "Well, what is the advertising budget?" And I think back then it was 200,000, which was enormous, right? And I said, "I just don't have that sort of money spare." And he even said, "Look, we'll do some sort of pay and play, we'll pay for it, you play, and then you can pay us back through profits."
Oh my gosh!
Right? Yeah, you say that, and I thought about it, and I still came back, and I said no.
Still said
yeah,
no.
like that's a deal, right?
Yeah, that's
but
what it does. I had so, and also the thing is, I was very protective of the brand Claude Dauphin, and all right, and I didn't want it to lose shelf space to Swatch, which it eventually did, obviously.
Yeah.
And anyway, that was my thinking. But anyway, what I was just saying is that it was just the side hustle that gives you the cash flow to do that. Okay.
Yes.
And even in this day and age, I still have that sort of mindset, because I know we're going to get on and talk about PropertyOnion later on. But that's the reason for PropertyOnion, started 8 years ago, because I didn't want to just sit there and wait for my next deal to come along. I wanted a cash flow. And anyway.
That's smart. Yeah. No, great. So so doing that in the UK, and then around 40 years old, you moved to LA. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then did you do real estate in LA during that time?
Yeah,
the 15 years there.
I think I'm coming up to 50 years in real estate.
Okay,
Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah. I mean,
never stop.
I mean, I should be Warren Buffett style, but I'm not.
It's okay.
Because the thing is that, all my friends and even my kids who are in the business as well, they call me the man that likes to say no. As case in point with Swatch, I always say no to more things than I say yes. I have to be 1,000%.
Okay.
I have to feel it in my gut. And
but there's value in that,
Totally.
staying really focused on a mission, whatever that mission is. And if it's, hey, I've got one development, I'm developing these 8 townhomes, focus on that. Don't get distracted from 5 other things, because you know what? That'll slow down your main project and it'll cause confusion. And
cost you.
It'll cost you. Yeah. Now it can cost you from a great opportunity, but who would have known that? Listen,
Yeah.
I'm sure you had 100 other opportunities you're not mentioning that were all crap in the end anyway. So saying no to all of those was a great idea.
Well,
and allowed you to achieve the success you've achieved.
Well, I always say some of the best deals I've done are the ones I didn't do.
Right. Correct. There you go.
And, it's
getting distracted and pouring money, good money after bad, or, doing all that.
We all have a certain amount of bandwidth.
There you go. Time is the bandwidth. Yeah.
Okay. And that's very precious, and that's what you've got to protect. So you've got to laser focus in on what you can do and what gives you the most return on your time.
Correct. I agree. So any highlights for LA before we get to Boca? Anything interesting in that timeline?
Well, what happened, the reason why I actually went to Los Angeles was I started off a company buying and selling gold, palladium, platinum, iridium, and ruthenium. I was a gold trader, a metal trader.
Wow.
Again, I know
everywhere.
Yeah, he is a man of all seasons.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I got to tell you, that it wasn't a job. It was so enjoyable. It was like playtime for entrepreneurs. And we ended up being in 3 continents. We had like about 12 offices. I spent some of my time in Thailand. I spent some of my time in China, in Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Shenzhen.
Wow.
And I started this gold trade, a very niche business. And I've always liked, they say riches in niches. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, and it's what I do now, the foreclosure business.
Exactly.
It's a
super
niche.
Yeah.
And I like those because not everyone can get into it. Not everyone understands it. There's a nuance to it if you don't understand it, you fall by the wayside. So if you're good at it, you're really good, and all the competition goes away. So anyway, we started this gold trading business, and again, it's a very long story, and you haven't got 2 days of filming your camera. So anyway, so the long story short is we had this office in London. An opportunity come to take our gold trading business to America. And I never really had a dream. I mean, a lot of people in the UK, especially now, would love to live in the US, right? It's like, that's the Mardi Gras, that's the dream. I never had that. I was very happy sitting at home. I loved my soccer. I saw a local soccer team, and I used to go and I used to travel around Europe. And I was but this opportunity came. And it was with a very large US company. Actually, at the time, it was the 187th richest company, actually most profitable company in the US. It was called Henry Schein. It was a medical distribution company. And again, a very long story, which I don't need to go into. I became friends with the chairman. Okay. And he's actually still an investor with me today in some of our products, the projects that we do. And I met. There is a sequence of events how we met, and it's interesting, but not for this podcast, maybe another time. And what happens? He said, "Like, I want you to come over. We want to do business with you. We want to give you some of our clients, but you've got to be based in the US. So we're going to give you a choice. Where do you want to be? You want to be in New York, or you want to be in LA?" And I said, I'll get some of my people together and we'll see which one I'm going to send over. So 2 things happened. First of all, I didn't think there was anyone in my company. We were employing about 200 people at the time that was really good enough to open up a new venture in the US. And secondly, I looked at the weather patterns, and New York was not. Now, the reason why I looked at the weather patterns is I started to digest this idea or gestate this idea that maybe I should do it. So anyway, I came home one Friday night and I said to Gina, my wife, I think we're going to go and live in
It's
America.
snowing in New York, and
Right.
LA is like 70 degrees. Let's go to LA.
I swear to you, she had no idea. I was even gestating this idea in my head. But, I'm a bit of a gypsy. I'm a bit of a nomad. I always say, with me, you never know where you're going to wake up, if we're going to be rich or poor. It's just the way it is, right? And so I said, we're going to go and move to the States. And I swear, it's only for 2 years.
Got it.
And so we chose California, and the company, this Henry Schein, a fantastic company, and the chairman of this company has been like a mentor to me. He was brilliant. And in life, you need mentors, okay? You need people to guide you and to show you the way, and he really did. And even I had lunch with him only about 6 months ago, and I sit there and I'm like a little boy, and I'm listening to everything he says, and I'm sucking up everything. And anyway, so he gave us a trial. We passed the trial with flying colours. He opened up his whole network, which is a worldwide network as well. And in that business, we went from zero to hero. We became the largest dental gold metal reclamation company in the US, and it's still going today. I sold it in October 2010, which was a very joyous occasion for me.
Wow.
And it's still huge today.
Good.
Go look it up, Star Refining.
That is super niche.
When did you come to LA?
Yeah.
When did you move to LA?
I moved to LA in 2000. I remember turning up, actually 2001, January 2001. And do you remember, I'm a very staid UK guy. I mean, I am, sort of out there a little bit, I understand. But the first vision I had when I opened the door to my new home in Agoura Hills was this lady who became very good friends with my wife and us. And she was going down the hill, because we lived on a slight hill, with a parrot on her shoulder. I'm British, right? That don't happen.
Other than pirates, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, welcome to LA. And as again, I didn't intend to come here. I didn't intend to live here. It was a 2-year project. Then I was going to fish somebody over from the UK to take over from me. And there was all sorts of immigration problems as well. I had an L1 visa, and it kept on, like, it was lapsing, it was running out. The sun wasn't in the sky at the right time. And so, it was a real hassle. But I got to tell you, I grew to love this country. And the truth is, I've made more money in the US than I ever did in the UK. But it's a great country. It is.
It's a land of opportunity. It really is.
If you're going
to work hard, the sky really is the limit.
The distinction between the UK and the US, in my opinion, can be summed up like this. If you had a Rolls Royce in the UK, which I'm proud to tell you I did at one time, right?
Wow.
I had a Silver Shadow, J-shaped Silver Shadow. If you park it somewhere in the UK, someone will get a key and they'll run along. Go, excuse my language, bastard.
Yeah.
Right? If you do that in the US, someone says, I'd like to get one of them. What do I do? How do I do it? That's a big distinction.
We have class mobility here. There, it's fixed classes for the most part. I mean, sure, can someone who's poor get rich in the UK? I'm sure it happens. I don't know if you were poor, but you certainly made a good amount of money in the UK in your lifetime while you were there up until 40 years old. But it is much, all of Europe is that way. At least that's what I hear and I see when I travel there, is that there's a lot of fixed class sort of, entrenchment. Whereas here it's, in one generation, you can go from rich to poor or vice versa. It's very, very easy here.
Yeah,
and I've seen the data on it, and the data proves that out too. So I forgot, there's some number, it's a crazy number. They said, I think it's like of the top 1% or whatever the number was. They said something like within that like top 1%, some crazy number, like 80 or 90% were not in the top 1% when they were born in one lifetime. The great majority of the people who are in the top 1% moved into that. We like to think that, the rich just, everyone got a silver spoon in their mouth.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's not really that case. Anyways, we're getting
the mindset, I think in Europe also is that, there is opportunity there, but people don't know or not encouraged or incentivized to execute on that opportunity. Whereas in the US, okay, you can be dirt poor and you can make a lot of money. And I've seen it, and it's executing on your opportunity. It's okay to see it, and sometimes you may be clever enough to identify it, but it's the real art is executing on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is the hard part.
And rinsing it.
Amen to that.
Yeah. That's the hard part. That's the execution and the hard work. So in the timeline now, you're moving on to Boca from LA. And what brought you to Boca?
And what year did you move to Boca? Curious.
This is 10 years ago, was it?
Yeah, it is 10 years
2015.
ago. Yeah, 2015.
Okay.
And so what happened was, my wife, and I'm not saying this to, as we say in the UK, to big myself up, but I am a workaholic. And it's not because of anything other. It's just my dad was a really hard worker. My grandfather's a really hard worker. So it's in my DNA. But it's not something that I do out of duty or need, thank God. Well, not anymore anyway. But it's just a state that I have to work hard. At the moment, I'm trying to teach myself all about social media. Mm-hmm. But I can't just I have to live it and breathe it. And my wife says, you become obsessed, right? And I do. I become obsessed.
That's how you win.
I know another guy in here kind of like you. This guy, yeah. Wow.
And it is this insane thirst for knowledge. I mean, I don't want to break away from this, but with social media, the fact is there is a secret source there, and everyone says that they've got it, but most don't.
Agreed.
And I am trying at this precise moment in time to work out who's got it, who hasn't. And to
keep me posted on that.
Yeah, I know. I'd like to know too. Yeah. Larry and I share a lot about this, about YouTube and Google Business and all of these, everything that goes into the electronic presence. And, we've shared consultants that we've used and, but I think you're always, having to kind of graduate to the next level. And it's difficult to get to that next level. It's a learning curve at every turn.
I mean, that's business in itself,
yeah.
Right? Just like you got to keep leveling up the whole way. Yeah.
Well, there's no rhyme or reason, especially with social media. I mean, I am working my tush off, and what I've done is I've developed by the way, #PropertyOnion, right? Just to have a look. I mean, there's no strategy there. I've done 7 or 8 different types of posts just to see what works. And some have got like 200 views. Some have got 10,000 views. Okay. Admittedly, some of them are promoted, and then when you sit back and you scroll in the morning, you're having a cup of coffee, you're scrolling through your phone and you're looking at just like what seems like billions of posts. And then you've got 2 guys that are screaming their lungs out in the camera, making funny faces, going, and you look and they go, they got 10,000 views just for making funny noises and facial expressions in a camera. And you go, I want to give up. I won't, but
totally.
Yeah,
I get that.
Right? And you think, what am I doing this for? But there is a secret source, as there is with anything, be it property, be it gold refining. I mean, do you know how many people were trading metal in the UK when I did it? Hundreds of people, but little one-man bands buying a bit of gold here, selling it there, buying a bit of silver. But, to be the best, to come to the creme de la creme, the top of the pot, you've got to find out. You've got to get that knowledge. You've got to find out all the little micro stuff that goes into that, and then build on it and use it and throw away what doesn't work and build on what does. And that's how you get to the top. And I'm going to do that with social media. I'm not going to say I'm going to be a guru of social media, but I'm going to do enough that works for me.
And you're doing this social media effort for PropertyOnion specifically?
Yeah. I had a team of 3 people doing it, and I got rid of all of them because the results weren't great. So I thought, you know what? If your results aren't great, how worse can I do? I'll do it. And if the results aren't great, so what?
Well, I think that's how we at least on my team in my business, we always start. We're just like, okay, we want to achieve this goal. Let's go learn a little bit about it. Let's go find the guru. Go find the person that can execute it for us. The third party person, right? Or company. And then usually it's like, okay, we hire these people, we learn a little bit, complete bomb failure. They can't do it. So then we fire them and then we step in to be like the same thing. It's like, well, now since that didn't work, now we're going to go obsess over this and figure it out and win. Right. And that's the path.
Find your competitive advantage, what that is, because remember, we all have different audiences too. So for example, not necessarily the 3 of us, or maybe soon to be you, when you have a national audience, like if you're just one of these I don't know, just general influencers, Theo Vaughn or something. Like his audience is any person in America, or really at least any male in America. That's his audience. So he could have millions of views and that's reasonable for him. But I was telling Tony earlier, I said some of our videos, you know, that I have both in my law firm, but also in our Real Deal podcasting are several hundred views. And I'm okay with that. Sure. You always want to be a little better, but our niche audience, our investors in Florida or South Florida, or for you, maybe a little bigger because on your real estate brokerage side is certainly anyone here in the South Florida area that's looking to purchase or sell real estate. So it's a bigger audience, but it's still, your expectation is not to have 1 million views on a video, right?
Of course.
Because you're not trying to go have people in Oregon click. I mean, unless they're looking to buy property in South Florida, right? So you're not going to go target ads in Oregon, right? Yeah.
This just goes back to like, once you immerse yourself in the topic, you become like so well versed. We're running multiple different channels on multiple different platforms, national versions, local versions, and we're like comparing this right now. And we're posting a post a day, a reel per day on 4 different channels. I mean, that's
a
4
lot.
times how many different platforms? 8 platforms, 6 platforms.
Wow.
Right. I mean, so we have one person that's just full time posting, and there's an argument to be made that that's not even enough.
Wow.
Depending on what path you're taking, right, in this endeavor.
Or to choose 3 platforms that perform the best for you and then put all your effort into those 3 platforms.
Sure. And each platform has a different algorithm, a different approach you need to take, maybe different hooks you need to run, right? So it's like, it can be complicated. And so we do the same thing. So we focus on 2-3 platforms, try to achieve a success there. And then whatever's successful there, we just post everywhere else. And then it's okay if they're not like outperforming.
That kind of segues into real estate as well, because, you know, the thing is that a lot of people are scattergun their approach to real estate, you know, where they're going to buy, and they're buying all over the place, all different types of properties. And again, you know, something that you learn through mistakes and being intuitive is you're better to stick to a farm area, get to know that farm area intimately,
especially,
and then go to work.
Especially for you as like a developer. My fiance, by the way, GC designer, we've built some ground up construction, and so like, yeah, I mean, you go outside of your farm area, you can easily make a big mistake.
Yeah, sure.
Right? It's like the probability for messing that up just increases so much.
Yeah.
Right?
And you get to know all the players, all the personalities, you know.
Well, that's it too, because I'm sure like when you came in, you're like, hey, if you have a deal, here's my card, right?
Yeah.
And so like in certain markets, as you like master the network, all of a sudden things start to work. But like if you're bouncing from like 20 different farms across the US, it's like, how are you going to master 20 different networks? You're just not, right?
I remember, you know, when I was buying the most number of the properties I was buying, you know, from the 2000 to 22 timeframe, for example, whenever I would put it out there to different brokers, like multifamily brokers, hey, you know, I'm actively looking for a property, I would get leads and they would start sending me deals. But then when I went quiet, because maybe I wasn't looking for a property at the time, I was trying to regenerate my capital and, you know, refill the coffers, the leads dried up, which was fine for me at the time because I wasn't yet ready. But my point is exactly this, that yes, having a network of lead sources in a certain area is really critical, and staying top of mind and in front of them is very critical. The other thing too is having that network of vendors too, because if you're going to do a flip of a property, you need a good contractor, you need a good plumber, you need a good this, you need a good that, you need, you know.
They make or break you.
They make or break you for sure. Whatever that is, whether you're being the contractor on the deal or even not using a contractor and just trying to do some basic light rehab, still important.
Is to develop your reputation, and it's easier to develop it in a smaller area than try to be a national. I mean, I'd like to say that from, I would say, West Palm Beach down to Deerfield Beach, that what I would say the key players, you know, if I say that I'm going to get involved in a deal, they know I'm going to get involved in a deal. It's not just, I'm going to get in a deal, sniff around it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Sure.
They know that.
Or just passively put some money in.
If
you're involved, you're involved.
Right?
Yeah.
But you can't do that on a national scale or even the whole of Florida. So, great, Deerfield Beach, I'm a celebrity.
We do the same on the brokerage side, right? It's like if you Google us in Boca, like the presence is and the brand awareness is just immediate. It's like type in best realtor in Boca, we're number one on like most of the stuff, right? So
that's very hard to do, by the way. What he's done,
yeah.
Very hard
And
to
so
do.
there's a number of ways that happen, but it requires a lot of effort and time
And money,
consistency, and money. Yeah, that's amen to that. And then maybe you're like trying to make the same effort in Delray and Deerfield, et cetera. But for starters, we focused on Boca, and now,
and now you can expand from there. So
ripple out.
Yeah, exactly.
So why don't we kind of skip sort of to the end, and we can work backwards. I want to hear all about your development and other flips and deals you've done, but let's hear about PropertyOnion. That's the most exciting venture. That's what you got going on right now. That's how I know you through that. A lot of my clients use you. So tell us about PropertyOnion. First of all, maybe what it is, and then how it started and where it's going.
Well, I think it's actually easier to say how it started.
Sure,
really.
Great. Love it.
Okay, so I turned up in 2015 in Boca Raton. As I said earlier, before we started filming, I came here to semi-retire, then realised that my DNA didn't allow me to do that. And so I got an office in the same building, a lot smaller then.
Yeah.
And I bought myself a laptop. And I forgot to say that I came down here to semi-retire. Oh, no, well, did I? I think I said that. To semi-retire. And I sat in his office with my laptop, and I didn't really have too much to do. And of course, so everything starts to kick in again, the entrepreneurial side of me. I'm looking around. So I thought, well, I'll get involved in property. That's what I really know, and that's what I get involved in. And of course, I'm looking around. I don't know anybody. I don't know where to go. So, and then I came across foreclosures. I thought, that seems interesting. It seems an interesting business. And then I started to read a little bit about it. I then went to networking events, and I realized that this is a really interesting topic, and it's a very complex topic as well. It's not just sort of one faceted. And so I thought, well, we'll start doing the trial runs. We go to auctions. Thank God back then they were online. And we just come out of the 2008, 2009 and 10, some people say, a crisis, the subprime market crash. And so there was a lot of activity going around, and there was a lot of inventory back there. So I started to dabble a little bit, and came close a few times to not keeping my pants, And I thought, what, I've got to really try and find out a bit more about this. And then I found that getting the information was so difficult.
Yeah.
So if I saw a property, it would take me like an hour to really to get my head around it. The county websites, the appraiser websites, the liens and it was just, I thought there's got to be a better way of doing this. I've got to be able to get all this information and bring it to me. So I started off with a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet. And again, it was, difficult, saved a bit of time, but not a hell of a lot of time. And then I bumped into my partner, Damon Simon, and who was a programmer of sorts. Even he said he doesn't write code, but he knows how to assemble it. And I said, look, I really would love to get all this information from all over the place and bring it into one place. And he said, well, I think I can help you with that. And took us 18 months to put it all together. And essentially, it was actually selfishly just for me. I wanted to have the advantage in the market, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Right.
No,
That's a
if
good
it
way to
works for
start.
you, yeah. Your entrepreneurship, especially if you're going for the niche type businesses, is solving a problem. You have to solve a problem that no one else has solved. That's where the riches
the
are.
idea was to go to an auction and where there would be some liens that people would run away from.
Mm-hmm.
I would run straight to it, and they go, "This mad bastard, what's he doing?" It's like, right, but something they don't, because you've done, knowledge is king. Anyway, so we put this all together and we wrote back then, I don't know, 800 to 1 million lines of code, and I was using it, and it was kind of a bit chunky, a bit clunky rather. And then some other developer friends of mine came in and do you think I could use that? And then I thought, hold on, entrepreneurial brain kicks in again. Well, hold on, maybe we could build this out. So we got it to be less clunky, and we developed this product. Today, I think there's nothing better. I actually used it in the beginning. I don't use it now, and I'll tell you why, because I think there's a conflict of interest. I think I told you this before. I don't think I can own a company that is showing foreclosures and how you get them and everything else, and also dealing foreclosures at the same time. Because
so you do not bid on foreclosure
no,
auctions,
I don't go anywhere
because then you're
auction.
bidding against your clients.
Well, number one, and number two, even
Makes
though
sense.
there isn't an unfair advantage, because I get the information
Same
at the same
information
time
they do, yeah.
as everyone else, but it could be perceived as such.
Sure.
So rather than have that misconception, I just retired from that. And we brought out version 2 last year. And each property has 280 data points. I know if you use the site, you'll know it. And I'm proud to say, and the one thing about being an entrepreneur and a salesman, which I am, is I can't sell a crap product. I can only sell what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I believe in our product. And so therefore, I can, effuse about it because it's just what I believe in. Anyway, so loads of people started to use it, and 300,000 people later.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So for those who don't, and I'm going to try to articulate what your service offers, and correct me if I'm wrong.
No, please go ahead. Save me the time.
So if you're buying if you want to buy a foreclosure, a lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, I want to buy a foreclosure," and I'm like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" Right? Let's define what you mean by that. Do you mean you want to go to the MLS and buy a foreclosure? That's not a foreclosure.
It's an REO property, real estate owned, bank owned already.
Exactly. And you're getting, in most cases, a clear title, right? But what you're offering is you're offering a service to help people who go to actual auction, county auction here locally, right? And they do it
also
digitally.
define the product.
And okay,
Right. So, within the website is a database of over 90,000 properties in Ohio and Florida, and soon to be another 14 states. And we're
amazing. Wow.
We're feverishly working away right now.
Wow.
And emptying our coffers to the developers and programmers
that's
to
fun.
develop out this huge program.
But you vetted the service in a specific market, and you know it works. So
Yeah,
it
we
should be
proved
successful.
concept.
Yeah, exactly.
So, for example, you could go, if I'm interested in buying an auction property in Palm Beach County, I can go sign up on PropertyOnion, and I can start to see which upcoming properties are going to be for sale and the date of the auction.
You can you get more granular than that.
Yeah.
You can choose a street. You can choose how many bedrooms you want. You can choose when it was built. You can choose the construction.
That's incredible.
You can, the square footage. You say, right, this is my dream. You put it into our filters, and we will throw up every property that is in your dream sheet. More than that, you go even do a deeper dive, and let's just say that you find and you can go down the street level, right? You find a property, then you can click on the property details page, and you can find out 280 data points on that property. You can even see the judgments. You can see the lien. Well, you've got to pay for the liens, but I'll talk about that later. But you can see everything about that property. You can see who the owner is. You can look at the judgment docs. It's, I always laugh when I first started. I mean, it took me an hour and a half sometimes to find a property I didn't want to buy.
Yeah.
And now you can do this in minutes.
It was too laborious and time consuming
Labor
before.
intensive.
And I've bought at auction way back in like 2012, 2013, and I've gone through that. I was working actually night shift at a power plant right out of college as an engineer, and so during night shift, finish all my work and then sneak into the shed, this like the engineer shed, and there's a computer, and I would sit there and I would do the research, and gosh, it would take me hours and hours and hours. And then you do all this work, and then you find out that those properties that you thought you were targeting were pulled off the auction block, right? So like if you can't do this stuff fast and efficient, it becomes this like massive, it becomes a full-time job. right? Just to buy property.
Well, we've made this a one-stop shop now. We even have a skip trace facility on our website. So if you want to try, and if you think there's an opportunity to try and get hold of the owner
before it
actually the hammer drops, so to speak, that we give that opportunity. We also have a title searches, title,
which I think is huge.
That's huge. That's huge. So I've sent you a lot of clients,
and I don't tell them people to your site a lot too, because I get these calls all the time.
I get these calls all the time as a title agent, and people are like, "Hey, I want to buy foreclosures," and then I have to have the same conversation. What do you mean by buy foreclosure? Define this. And if they say yes, I want to buy at auction and or tax deed sale, I first of all let them know, hey, I personally, I have never bought a property at auction because I don't feel super comfortable doing so. If I were ever going to, though, I would go through PropertyOnion to do this. And I have to explain to them why I should not be giving them a title search or title commitment, because it can take 2-3 business days at minimum to get the title search back. Plus, it's going to cost somewhere between $95 and $150. And many of these sales cancel at the last minute. So they're just spending money. Plus, that doesn't even include a lien search, which typically is somewhere between $350 and $450. I have to explain the differences to them. Typically now what I just do is say, go to propertyonion.com. They have mentorship.
That's the other thing. They need
get training, coaching, all of that. It's all in one. And the blessing about this is you're taking care of my clients, and I don't have to have this half an hour conversation every single time. I say, go to PropertyOnion, get some classes, training, sign up, get some
that's
data.
The thing. I'd like to say is also that, analyzing properties, finding properties, that's an art on its own. And even with a great site like PropertyOnion.com, sorry for the shameless plug, but it can also be daunting. There's a lot of information to sift your way through. And so we actually started the PropertyOnion Academy, which I think you just talked about. And it was funny because you were talking earlier about social media. There's all these people that say, I've got the secret sauce. I can do this and do that. And it was with that mindset that we created the Academy, because I didn't want to just do an educational course and just take people's money, run and say goodbye. What we do is a mentorship. You get an 8-week course from what we call them the professors, but these are people that have their own portfolio of properties. They've done it. They've made a load of money, and they've got a lot of time on their hands because and so what we've done is we've gone out and found these people, and we've created a course with them, a proper curriculum, and we teach an 8-week course, and it's one-on-one training. So it's not in a classroom. You go at your pace, whether we skip over the stuff you really know, and then we go over the stuff that you don't know, and we'll stop and make sure that you've got to a point in that particular class or that section of the course, and then we carry on. But it just doesn't stop at the end of 8 weeks. Because not only will we turn up at an auction with you and sit with you and do auctions with you, we'll be with you for the next year. And because we say it's a year's mentorship, which it is, but I can tell you right now that all of our professors, all our girls and guys, you call them gals, don't you? We call them girls. Gals and guys. They're still friends with their students. And if you look at our testimonials, it shines through. They call them by their first, and they get together. So I just wanted to make that clear. It isn't just like it's an educational program and we kick you out. It's you with us for life.
What I love about this is that traditionally the auctions have been dominated by a small number of players who had this knowledge. They had the access. They've created systems internally, and they don't share that with anyone. There's no one that was ever sharing this knowledge. I mean, I know many of the names of people who buy properties in Palm Beach County or did in the last 15 years, especially during the height of the foreclosure crisis from that 2009 to 2014-15. The great majority of those properties were purchased by just a few groups of investors. But what you've done is you've given access to the common man and the common woman who really want to learn this, and that's great. You're giving them that knowledge, you're giving them the access to the data, and you're leveling the playing field, which is wonderful.
Well, one of the important things is that the key word here is community. We try and genuinely believe it. I'm a people's person. I love to be around people. And I love all our holiday parties that we do for the company. I love as many people to come as possible. It's all about community, because the thing about it is the money is great. Okay, money is really great, but if you just focus on that first, it don't work. I know it doesn't work, but if you focus on building something really great and people really enjoy being part of it and want to do it and they're learning from it, the money falls out of that anyway. It's just the way it is. So our focus, and anyone I talk about, and I've just told this to my kids all their life, and thank God they seem to be profiting from it, strangely, is the fact that just do the best you can. I said that my daughter's a real estate agent. So be the best real estate agent you can. Give the best service you can.
World class is what I say to myself. Is this world class or
Don't give average. Don't go there. Give it the best. Go over the top.
Yeah.
People remember that.
They do.
And, in her case, she's just gangbusters. She's like huge in poker. But anyway, but that's and that's what we've done with PropertyOnion.
So the other problem it solves is I've seen in my career now, having my law firm for 15 years, countless numbers of mistakes that novice auction buyers go. They go and they buy that $35,000 townhome. The market value is $400,000. They think they got the deal and steal of a century. They were willing to pay $350,000 for it, and they got it for $35,000. And then a week later, they find out why, because they get served with a foreclosure lawsuit, and they just bought an association foreclosure. See that happen countless times.
I sell property like that, and we end up in those situations with clients, and I'm just like,
they have title, but so to explain for the audience, when you buy an association foreclosure, so if the prior owner was not paying their association dues, the association could foreclose. The buyer of that property at auction will get the deed, and you are the legal owner of the property for a certain amount of time, because when there's a mortgage on the property, assuming the other property owner 99.9% of the time is not paying the mortgage because they couldn't even afford their association dues, that mortgage is going to foreclose out your interest, that auction buyer's interest in the property. And so typically someone who buys an association foreclosure might only own it for a few months, maybe a year and a half, depending on how long it takes for the bank to foreclose on the property. And so they've just paid, let's say, $35,000 for this property to own it for somewhere between maybe 6 months and a year, or maybe a year and a half. Yeah, maybe they can move a tenant in there if the association will approve the tenant, but they have to fix the property up. And then is it worth $35,000 to go rent a property for $1,800 a month for 8 months? But that's what I have to tell them is I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that mistake happened.
Due diligence is one of the key.
Absolutely.
Is the key.
That's the key thing
that's
the point.
At the academy. It's the most important lesson.
And training, like knowing what you're seeing. Like you can give them all the data in the world, but if they don't see that the plaintiff is the Tierra Verde Homeowners Association, well, if they don't know what that data point means, well, that's a problem, because you can only have so many warning signs for them. So,
and that's where mentorship is so important, I think, for this type of stuff, because the risk profile is just so high.
Correct. Well, the simple thing is, we teach people, when you go to an auction, first thing you look at who the plaintiff is.
Yeah.
Is it an HOA or is it a bank?
Yeah.
And is the bank
rule number one?
Is it the first position or second? Know that. How many people that we've seen have bought second or third position? I
was going to say less common is a second mortgage foreclosure. It doesn't happen as often. Typically, they wait for the first to foreclose and then they get any excess proceeds. But nowadays, if first mortgage isn't moving the foreclosure for it, a second mortgage will. So
I'll tell you something. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'll tell you the second biggest customer who buy our title reports, they buy them after they've bought a property.
No way. Oh,
wow.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Where's the rationale, right?
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
They must buy a lot of property and just kind of...
No. I mean, well, listen, we have what we call wows, and we got people to buy 20 or 30 reports at a time. But the fact is that people have just realised that they've made a boo-boo. I better get a title report.
Yeah.
Well, that's the wrong way around.
Yeah. Oh my
I know.
God.
Yeah. What's the average cost of your reports, your title reports?
$55.
$55. And how quick do they come back on average?
They're the next day. You can do a rush as well for another $10 and you get it back the same day. And I will point out,
very, very
we're
impressive.
not a farm. We have 5 abstractors that work for us. They're US based. They work with the fund, as you know, and we don't farm them out overseas.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very interesting.
Yeah. No, it's really important. And most of them are based in South Florida, so they know, or they're based in Florida, I should say, and they know the market. And they do.
That's hard finding those people. I bet that's not super easy.
I got to tell you,
first of all,
we're very protective. We are very protective. We don't give out who they are.
Oh, I bet you don't.
You could turn up at a holiday party and see them all sitting around at the table, but
the ones with the big glasses and the smart ones.
Damon always says that you can tell a good abstractor. They're always cat women. They always they had lots of cats for some reason.
So funny.
That is
I
funny.
don't know why that is, but that's just
funny.
the way it is. Yeah.
One
But
of your title people has a lot of dogs or loves dogs. So I feel like
yeah.
It's not an abstractor.
Yeah. Abstractor likes cats, so that's different. Yeah, closers like dogs. Closers like
it's
dogs.
fun to generalize, isn't it?
No, I know. Yeah.
That's great.
That is funny.
Yeah.
No, but that's a wonderful product at a good price point. You know, rather than paying for a title code that's going to run you again $100, $150, could be several days. Plus, is going to be incomplete with certain things that would come from what's called a lien search, which would. Yeah. The lien search is where the third-party lien search company has to go down to the city or county, and they have to pull the records to get open expired permits or code violations, things like that. Do your reports include some code violations?
Here's the key: if it's been recorded at the city, then it's included.
Okay,
but we know some municipalities don't record all their utility.
It's iffy. It's iffy, But
you know, it's
you can only produce what you can get your hands on, which sounds like is the great majority of things. So
we always say, look, if you're in doubt, get a real estate attorney. You know, because at the end of the day, we can only give you, as you quite rightly says, what is produced by the county. But also the fact is that you get our. We also teach you when you get our title reports is how to read them, what they mean. You know, what is a superior lien? You know, what goes away? There's a difference when you do a tax deed, when you buy a tax deed.
Well, that's what I was going to say earlier. Before I was aware of your site's existence, I go through this educational discussion with a client asking about this foreclosure thing. I would usually, and if they were interested and engaged after I kind of like spelled out like, hey, here's like the risk profile of this. It's like, just go buy a tax deed sale, right? Just like go buy a tax deed sale. But now I'm just like, you need mentorship, go to PropertyOnion, like just figure it out.
Yeah. You also got to remember the tax deed sale, sometimes the county don't do it right either.
Yeah.
Everyone's, infallible, and, it's human, where there's human interaction.
It can happen.
Yeah. Not often, but you have to have it in the back of your mind.
Yeah. No, for sure. So just a wonderful product, and I'm glad you came into this industry and stumbled upon this and then popularized it for the consumers out there. It's really was such a need in this niche area. So that's wonderful to have. Where is PropertyOnion going from here? Give us kind of, where do you see PropertyOnion in 3 years? All right, so expanding geographically.
We're going to make sure that none of our competitors or soon to be competitors can hear this. No, the fact is that, we got 300,000 people that are subscribed to us free and paid, because we have a free side of our website as well. It's obviously limited, but whatever. And the competitive nature of me is, as I said, I don't know if I said it, but I'll say it again. My wife tells me I say it too. I'm 67 years of age, right? I reckon I got another 5 years of puff left in me. Okay,
puff.
Where I really want to hammer it. I want to go out with a legacy. And so I want to build the biggest foreclosure prop tech company in the US. And everything I've done, I've always said I want to be the biggest or die doing it, and I probably will. But here's the thing. That we've identified 14 states, including New York, California, New Jersey, all the suspects, Texas, whatever. There are obviously different nuances to the way that the foreclosure system works in these states, but we believe that there is a need for this service. But on top of that, we're also going to be doing tax liens and tax deeds. We're going to be listing those as well. So that is a big side. And that's actually our academy teaches tax liens and tax deeds. Our academy will teach you how to buy one. The great thing about tax liens and tax deeds is, well, tax liens especially, is you can buy a tax lien for $50.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get anywhere from 5 to 18% return on it, so it's not going to really, make
Change
your
your life. Yeah.
yeah. But then again, we taught a real estate investor how to buy tax liens and tax deeds. I won't mention his name, but he stuck $5 million into the market. In fact, one county, he emptied out all their tax liens.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He just went in there. He went in there like an institution.
I think that's an interesting business model too. Like,
it's fabulous.
Yeah, because
fabulous.
I've bought a ton of tax liens over the years too.
Have you?
Believe it or
I
not.
didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yeah, me and a buddy of mine, we bought a bunch. And I think it's just, if you focus on it, again, back to like, pick the thing, pick your side hustle, pick whatever. You focus on that. I think you can.
I mean, what's the danger in it? Isn't it safe?
Well, you
pretty
can't
safe.
speak
to it
based on the law.
Yeah.
No, it is.
It's a safe investment.
It is
secure.
In the most part, it is safe, but you've got to make sure that you buy a tax lien on a property that exists.
The right property
that exists.
So due diligence matters again.
Well, yeah. Go and have a look at it. You know, well, if you're spending $50, don't bother. But for instance, Miami-Dade is famous for issuing tax liens and tax deed sales on properties that don't exist. Because when a developer goes in and starts to go into build a condominium block, so they're going to have 200 that's maybe exaggeration, but they're going to have 100 condos, and they decide only to build 80. There's 20 condos that are at the appraiser's office that never got built, but they've got a tax ID, right? They don't get paid to go to become a tax deed, and if you actually go to our website, there's 2 stories on there that we actually have written about, and we actually crusaded with an attorney to go and take on Miami-Dade.
Yeah, they should have given that money back.
But they didn't, and it was actually a lady called Angelina Levy. I'll say that, and she's a school teacher. She used to teach. I think she's still teaching disadvantaged school children in Miami, and she put her life savings into 2 or 3 tax deeds tax deed sale that didn't exist.
Wow.
She unfortunately didn't. She wasn't well informed, and she lost all her money. And we went out, and they just didn't want to know. So
there's so many stories of this. Like this is like
wow,
it's a thing, right?
Yeah. Wow,
yeah.
Wow.
So
training again, education, training, so important. Yeah, don't just go blind into something. So
due diligence, and it is actually if you stick to your lane, and like everything else, it's your farm area. When you buy foreclosures, there are different types of foreclosures that that you should stick to. I personally love land. Mm-hmm. When I was doing it, I love to buy land because obviously I've got a development company, and so it's a great way of buying cheap land.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
Well, on that note, we want to hear a little bit about your development experience and the most recent one in Delray. How many properties have you developed in, let's say, South Florida in the past 10 years? Have you done a handful?
No, I won't talk about what I bought, sold, and flipped because significant developments and redevelopments is about probably a dozen.
Okay. Awesome.
But I'm talking multi-million-dollar developments. We bought penthouses on Palm Beach Island. $7 million pieces of kit.
These are big deals.
Yeah, these are kind of big deals. I've gone off dealing with condominiums.
I understand
because
I get that. Yeah, smart man.
Yeah, when you buy a condominium, you should buy a year's supply of Tylenol.
To deal with the board. Yeah,
to deal with the board, to deal with the building department. The condo commandos are fantastic.
Yeah,
you've got to always try and get them on your side if you're buying a condo.
For sure. Just kidding. I mean, something as simple as getting your vendors up and down an elevator during business hours, and then you can't work on certain days, and the banging and the noise and
But again, that's a unique experience. But lately, the last 5-6 years, and if you go to centennialinvestments.com and you go to I don't know if it's about us, it's on a drop down menu, you find probably about 8 years of video, 8 years of newsletters and videos. It chronicles all the deals that we've done.
Love it.
70 odd deals, I think it is.
Wow.
Cool. But that's not. But the actual out of the ground development, I've started about 6 or 7 years ago. I used to do that in LA. I used to build out the ground in LA. I also had an experience, or used to be experienced in buying shopping centres, but we did that, funny enough, in Kansas. That became my farm area, Kansas. I still do business out there. I loved the way of life. When you fly into Kansas, your blood pressure just drops. And it's like, it's a bit manana-ish. It's always everything's tomorrow, but I can live like that. Yeah. Building inspectors that don't turn up but sign off,
the complete opposite of here.
Yeah,
they show up and don't sign off.
Right. And but so the recent, I think the last 3 deals is I built a penthouse, redeveloped a penthouse, took it right back to the cement walls in Palm Beach Island, and redeveloped that. That was it was a $5 million purchase that we turned into a $7 million buy that is now worth $11 million. So we do a quality build. That's another thing, that everything we do when we build is quality, best materials, the best labor force. It's like my uncle used to say to me, if you're ill, you get the best doctor. If you've got a legal problem, you get the best lawyer. And financially, you get the best the best financial advice and the best accountants. And I do that with building. I get the best. I don't make the same margin as I should do, but I'm not looking for the last penny. I'm looking to sell a quality product.
That's who you want to do business
and
with.
Peace of mind too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we
it minimizes the number of problems. Not that you'll not have problems. Every development, every project has problems. But when you're dealing with competent people, that's you're going to minimize the headaches. Well, so you're only half a bottle of Tylenol, not the full one. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And I used to actually, back in the day when I was doing my own projects, I used to have my own crew. That's another story, maybe for another podcast. I used to have but the thing is that you had to keep them employed all the time. And if you weren't buying enough, and again, don't want to get into that pressure of having to buy something to keep your crew busy, because that's when you make mistakes as well. So I was lending out the crew to other people, and it was just a nightmare. So I actually went through probably 3 or 4 GCs, contracting companies. And the funny thing about contracting companies is they're only as good as their last job. Sometimes you get into GCs where they do like 2 or 3 great jobs and then do a crap job, right? So you got to stay on top of them. You know, you got to be your own advocate.
You do have to be your own advocate.
But I must say, the last 2 deals I've done with I'll give them a shout out. Tester Construction, they're fantastic. They're one of the only companies where I've actually had a continuous week's sleep without having, and whenever there was a problem, they were on top of it. It was really, really good. And that's, as you said, make or break. Mm-hmm. General contractors will make or break you. So as I said, we did this development in Palm Beach Island, built this beautiful, this beautiful penthouse. Funny enough, actually, we put a $300,000. I always laugh. I put a $300,000 kitchen in there, countertops, everything, and the guy that bought it ripped it all out.
No way.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. So that teaches you something about that market.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then I've just finished 3 townhomes in Delray Beach on Southeast 2nd Street. Just sold 1, 2 are still on the market. Been on the market a couple of months or 3 months. A lot of people sniffing around there. And so hopefully they get sold.
You have that video on your website?
Yeah, I got the last video that we've done.
That was a great video.
It actually tells the story of all the people that are involved, all the personalities. Yeah. And then the second half of it, if you can stay awake, because it's 45 minutes, is shows you how we built it. And I go month by month for 18 months. But I mean, you've got to really love building, right?
No, but it's really, that's really cool. I've never seen a video like that. They took the time to, Tony took the time to really chronicle everything. Yeah.
I think I said at the end of the video, the fact is that I hope that if you're thinking about getting into development or construction, whatever, that this has been some sort of guide for you. I gave it warts and all. I didn't give it just the beautiful lights and smoke and everything. I gave you, when there was a problem, I told you there was a problem. We couldn't find, there was a sewer pipe that we couldn't find and we had the county down and everything else, or the city down. We couldn't find this sewage pipe, and it was really, really, and we ended up like digging up the whole site, and we eventually found it.
Wow.
They couldn't find it with all the machines. Anyway, so my recent thing is I've just bought something down on 6th Avenue. I bought a development, a commercial building that sits just off the Intracoastal, and you've got a view of the ocean when you go up 43 feet. And that's going to be probably one of my last deals, I think, because it's a big deal.
Big one?
It's 8 sky villas we're going to build and 6,000 square feet of retail and 5,000 or 6,000 square feet of offices. We've got Shane Ames is actually designing. In fact, I'm seeing him for dinner tonight, probably the most expensive dinner I'll ever have this year. And it's a huge event. It's going to end up being
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's I think that we've costed it out about 50 million. That's what it's going to be.
Wow, that's a big project.
Yeah. It's a long way from buying a 2-bedroom apartment in London.
I like it. Yeah.
Awesome.
And selling teddy bears and cassette tapes. Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes.
That's great.
I like that. Well, listen, I'm so excited for not just what you're doing right now in the market, just the foreclosure market, but also about your developments, but also what's to come. I mean, just this last development you mentioned, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's a 4-year deal.
Well, that's a legacy you're leaving. So
yeah.
And it's a legacy you're leaving for all of these investors, and hopefully very soon nationwide, that are going to be able to utilize this this portal that will help them. It's something that never existed before. You're creating something out of nothing.
And creating is
fun.
Yeah, it'd be having a creative spirit aligned to an entrepreneurial spirit is kind of unique. And I like it's to create things is just a wonderful thing. I'm actually a really frustrated architect. I would love to have been an architect. First of all, I can't draw. Secondly, I haven't got the brains. All right, but I'd love to have put something down on paper and then just see it. And that's why I'm so envious of Shane. He's this artist.
Yeah.
That you can just redline something. And he turned up at this new development that we've done. And I said, what do you think we can do here? I want to build some sky villas. I want to go 43 foot plus up into the air. So you got and he's sitting there with and then 3 weeks later, he gives us a schematic and some sort of footprint.
But
that's glorious.
Yeah, but you're not giving yourself enough credit. It's glorious what you've done in multiple ways. You've created a vision out of nothing, and you're putting, I don't know about everything, but a significant amount, I'm sure, of your net worth on the line to do this vision. And this is something, again, you're just creating it out of the netherworld, So while you can't use pen and paper or CAD or, a computer to draw this stuff up, you are an artist in your own right.
Well, this site was bought to us as an investment opportunity to just kind of hit the desk. Mm-hmm. It was like a 4 cap, which is no good to anybody.
Sure.
And I thought, just for laughs and giggles, I do a drive-by.
Yeah.
And then, as usual, I don't just drive up the front and drive off. And I actually drove all the way around. And I thought, there's a beautiful community behind it, really high net worth homes. And I thought, what's that? Oh, that's the water, because I didn't look at the map properly. And that's the intracoastal. Oh, I wonder what happened. So I got because I love to, again, another thing, I love to fly a drone. So I threw my drone up. I'm looking at the thing, 43 foot, and I'm looking, okay, wow.
Views.
That's the water.
Yeah.
Let's go and take a look at the zoning. It was a shoe-in. By right, you could build up to, I think, 60 feet. And then I knew it was a deal. Didn't tell anybody, because everyone's looking at it through the lens of an investment.
Yeah.
And I looked at it through the lens of a development. And that is all about opportunity, and that is all about executing upon your opportunity.
Sure.
We talk about like value add, like with multifamily, buy an 8-unit property and put on that 9th unit, or put in another duplex on the side or something. This is an extreme example of incredible value add that you're creating here. I mean, you're thinking completely outside of the box and creating value where no one had any idea there was value.
It's all
there.
about angles.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's all about angles.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, why don't you shamelessly plug again a couple of your sites, if you would. PropertyOnion.com, of course, the number one.
Well, we'd actually got a special. I spoke to Damon and I told him that I was going to be doing this podcast, and I said, look, we've got an opportunity here to shamelessly plug it and to actually sell. And what I would like to do is to say that I don't know if you're going to put it up on the screen or whatever, but if you go to getpropertyonion.com, that's getpropertyonion.com, there's a very special deal. Now, we did this for one of our podcasts about 2 months ago, and it was basically $350 worth of goodies and incentives and everything else, and 6 months full access to the site for $95. So it's like about a 75% return. Oh, return. Everything I go talk about is not return. 75% discount.
Yeah.
And so getpropertyonion.com. I don't think.
Well, I might be logging on there here when I get back to the office. So 6 months access is great, full access.
And don't forget the foreclosure market. It's predicted to go up another 3.5% in South Florida against a national level of 5% over the next year.
Yep.
Well, we're seeing the numbers of foreclosures on average on daily auctions going up over the last year or two, correct? Significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, it went from a very low number, a handful a day, to more than a handful. So,
well, it's the sub $300,000 properties that are climbing, which is like 55% of the South Florida market.
Yeah.
So that the middle market's staying okay, but the upper market above $700,000, that's kind of unaffected. So it's really the sub 300 grand, properties, and that's where people are looking in the auctions right now, and that's why there's more property. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because the business we're in is because of someone else's misery.
Sure.
And I always respect that. Respect that.
Sure.
I don't but if I'm not doing it, someone else will, and that's it's good enough for my therapy.
Yeah. Well, we have to create liquidity in the market. I mean, that's just a fact. Or else those properties, if there wasn't this auction, those properties would sit there forever. But getpropertyonion.com, and what's the other website?
CentennialInvestments.com. CentennialInvestments.com. And I unfortunately, maybe you put it on the screen afterwards. I'll give you there's a drop down. I think it's called either About Us or Investments, and it's got CITV, which is what it's called, CITV. Actually, that's our YouTube channel, CITV. Centennial Investments Television, strangely enough, and you can go there and you can see that might be an easier way of going to our website, unless you really want to do a deep dive on all our properties that we've bought and sold, and in Europe as well.
Good, excellent. Well, I love it. Well, thank you for being here today, Tony. This is amazing for us to get to hear what you're doing, where you're going, and what the origin story was. I didn't know all that, so it's a great story. So
this was great. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I hope your podcast has a promotional umbrella because it's raining.
At least it's not raining in here.
No.
Just raining money. So yeah. Well, good. Well, thanks again, Tony.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.